man. Let's get this started. Where's the thing? I've got a button over here, don't I? I think I've got a button. It's somewhere. Hang on. Yeah. Okay. It's this one over here, right? That's the one? That's the one. Hey there, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whatever time it might be in your part of the world.
Greetings, my excellent friend.
It's so good to see you. My name is Jeff Fritz, and today is June 10th, 2025, and we're going to write a little bit of code today. How you doing out there, chat room? There's a lot going on. Let's catch up. Let's chat. We're broadcasting live on Twitch and YouTube. There's the chat right there. You're going to see messages from both services popping up over there. It's good to see you. Hello. I'm making sure I have YouTube up over here so that I can moderate. Let me say hello to folks out there. Goofball Guinness, Jawn, and more Jawn. That's right. If you haven't gotten enough Philadelphia flavor and culture coming through this stream, I've got more coming. How you doing there, C# Titan? Good evening to you in Melbourne, Australia. Deploy that, Jawn. Already done? We'll talk about that. Jawn of the Dead. Not quite. We ran a hat command there, yes. So this is actually a Philadelphia Phillies, our baseball team inspired hat. The pale blue, the sky blue, is actually from the city's flag, from the Philadelphia city flag, inspired by the Swedish flag, because many of the early Philadelphia settlers were Swedish. And it's got the angled Philly word mark there, inspired by the lightning bolts infamously captured by Benjamin Franklin. So, very cool stuff. I really like this hat. C# Titan says, did I see that the Xbox ROG handheld that Microsoft announced? Yes, and in typical Microsoft style, it's not a device that Microsoft themselves is making and deploying and working on, right? They're partnering with another company. They're making it, but they're going to put Xbox on it. Really cool to see. Not so much competing against the PS4, but competing with the Switch, competing with the Steam Deck. Very cool to see that they're doing some innovation in that space. So I'm interested to see more of what happens there. Happy time zone to you, Napalm Codes. Phil, that's right, 4 years subscribing there. Thank you so much. 48 months with us. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Smirking Squiggly, yes, we're going to write some code today. Absolutely. Let me get some music playing in the background here before we get too far in. I'm going to play from the Stream Beats Synthwave playlist today because I just want to have a little bit of groovy, easygoing time here today. Let's start down here. This is called Luminous Lanes. When I point to you, you appear up here. Space Shot first. Hello.
Space Shot just resubscribed for 71 months.
71 months. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that support. Now, was that? Yeah, tier 2. Thank you so much for that support. Did I order? C# Titan asked, did I pre-order the Switch too? I did not. The Switch, I enjoy the Switch. I wouldn't say that I'm a rabid fan of the Nintendo devices these days. I have a lot more fun with what I can do on on my full PC rig gaming. So Switch hasn't been as much my cup of tea. The Switch is sitting here next to me in my desk, and I haven't touched it in a year. Like, don't get me wrong, there's some fun games there. Hasn't captured my imagination in a while. So, C# Titan with a follow-up question. Any news on the visor glasses? So, the latest news, the investors were promised that all of the Founders Edition glasses would be shipped in Q2 2025. For those of you with a calendar, that means by the end of June. As far as we know, no production units have been shipped. We do know that a number of the enthusiasts on the Visor Community Discord have received test units. This is both good news and bad news. I see it as good news. They're trusting, they're nearing the final production. They're sending some out to influencers for feedback. This is bad news. They're still collecting feedback halfway through June 2025 when they say they're going to be delivering all of them. If they need to make an adjustment at this point, how much production time do they have before shipping at the end of the month? So I'm worried there. I look at the Visor at this point as a sunk cost. Eventually, I'll get a device, but I'm not upset that I spent that money because I bought that a year ago. Like, eventually something will be delivered. It's a lot of money that I spent. Something will eventually arrive. Hey, Greenish Pepper, hello. Question for me. All right, here we go. Let me answer this. Greenish Pepper wants to learn AI, but not use AI to build an app, but rather incorporate in an app or software. What should I be looking into to learn this? Seems like every time I search this topic, I'm bombarded with ways to build an app with no knowledge using AI. Greenish Pepper, I am so glad you asked this question because we have scheduled 2 workshops coming up in July where I'm going to teach exactly that. First workshop is going to be how to use AI with .NET. We're going to talk about things like semantic kernel. We're going to talk about large language models. We're going to talk about running models locally with both Ollama and Azure Foundry. We're going to talk about and dive into Microsoft Extensions AI and how you can use those pieces together. Those technologies are the things that I would be looking at if I were you and I wanted to get a little bit ahead of what I'll be talking about during that workshop. So, semantic kernel, Microsoft Extensions AI, take a look at Azure Foundry and Ollama as 2 technologies that will let you run models locally on your workstation. That said, there's also models that you can use for free that run on GitHub. Sign up for a GitHub account. There are limits as to how many times and how much you can use those models on GitHub, but they're available out there for you to work with for free. So, hey, good morning, Lucy. Good to see you. Oh, Napalm wants me to put on a Penn State hat. Look at this. Give me a few minutes. Let me get to that. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of digging here. A Philly hat, that's right. How you doing there, Wise Otter with the big wave? There's Space Shots resub. Lucy says apparently Mac OS is getting containerization framework in their upcoming Mac OS based on Linux containers. Yeah, isn't that interesting that Mac OS is embedding container capabilities? Like, yeah, okay. Something could be said about like the Docker folks could certainly come out and right, they could press charges with the SEC that, hey, this is an anti-competitive practice because that's our product line and Apple is going and integrating it with their product, right? We saw this 25 years ago when Netscape filed similar complaints against Microsoft and including a browser with the operating system, which is now moot. Everybody includes a browser in the operating system. Thank you again, Space Shot. Stream Elements must not have pinged the hat change. I don't think I have a sound effect that goes off for Channel Points Redemption anymore. Not sure you like the Windows Vista Glass theme on iOS 26. What do they call it? Liquid Glass or something like that? Like, folks rejected this 15 years ago. What's with Apple copying not copying, but unearthing, digging up the grave of Microsoft design from 2010. What's with that? Jawn isn't a verb, it's a noun. What were the issues with deployment, and will you tell us the solution? Sure, I will absolutely tell you the issues with deployment on Copilot that Jawn. Yes. Let me find a Penn State hat here. Hang on. There you go. There you go. College football playoff. All right. So I'll mark that redemption as complete. There we go. I have a bunch of gunner glasses arriving today. I'm really looking forward to this. The new models that they've just announced. They just released Monterey. There's a new one coming that I'm not allowed to talk about just yet. We've got that one coming, and we've got the Fallout glasses that are arriving as well. Compared to the walled gardens, closed app stores, and heavy developer fees, to what caused the judge to order a breakup in U.S. versus Microsoft makes me laugh. Yes, Windows was always wide open, no license fee or permission required for you to ship or sell an app for people to use. However, you got to pay Apple to do anything on their operating system. You got to pay them $100 just to be a developer. Like, think about that. Doom the Dark Ages gunner glasses? I don't think they're making a Doom pair of glasses. I haven't seen that. So, where should I start? I'm not sure. I know a bunch of you out there are from outside the States. I do not live near Los Angeles. So I'm not directly impacted by the situation that's going on out there. I don't have family out there. I know some folks do have family out there, and certainly there are lots of folks out there that are protesting, standing their ground. We see you out there. You're doing the right thing. Regardless of whether law enforcement is right or wrong, trying to identify, locate criminals. I'll use that term for now. Regardless, that is no reason to roll out armored vehicles and I'll just say people in tactical military gear walking down the middle of the street with long rifles. That is no reason to ever do that. The administration in this country is ramping up the temperature on purpose. And they need to do it quickly because the numbers are coming out. As a knowledge worker, as somebody who works with numbers and statistics on a regular basis, the numbers are coming out. And in one county in upstate New York, there is a nonpartisan group that was asked to check out the election roll from November 2024 because a third-party candidate was not, their results were not reported. So somebody who ran for president, who was not Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, they didn't get a vote tally from this county. And that was weird. So they went to court and said, hey, I want to know my vote tally. We campaigned here. I don't have a vote tally. Even a vote tally of 0, it is a vote tally reported. They didn't report anything. So they commissioned a nonpartisan group to come in and take a look and start reviewing the numbers. And the numbers that they're finding are very strange. In districts where folks voted 75% for the Democratic senator candidate, 25% for the Republican, there were 0 votes for the Democratic presidential candidate. 0. That's weird. They're now looking at other results in other counties around the country and saying, wait a sec, we're finding other irregularities here also. Statistical anomalies in hundreds of years of voting have never happened. And they're saying, we'd like to take a little look further at this because the numbers that were reported are something that we've never statistically seen before. If the statistics bear out, I smell a rat in the American election. We'll see what happens. But statistically, right, looking at just the numbers, it's impossible. Let's say it did happen that 500 people in one precinct voted for the Democratic senator candidate. And every single one of them decided to vote for the Republican candidate for president. Let's say that happened. That is a very, very low percentage chance that would happen. The likelihood that would happen in 2 precincts is even more infinitesimally small. 3 precincts is impossible. And it's all over this county in New York, which is a predominantly Democratic-leaning state. It's weird. And statistically, something more needs to be taken a look at. So, when police work starts to look like a military operation, you're doing it wrong? Yes. Depends on where it's being done. If you're dealing with MS-13, it's probably acceptable. That's not where they were. They weren't in gangland. That's not where they were. So, not that I don't agree. If a vote was cast, it should be counted. Exactly. All the politics are just overwhelming. Hey, Frank, good to see you. Hello. Most U.S. elections are run locally, hyper-locally. Yes. Like, the elections in the states are run such that you go to the local elementary school. You go to the local firehouse. These are places that are being managed by the local government. They're the people that live down the street from you. And you're going to see some of the folks that you go to church with, some of the folks that work at the local grocery store, what have you, sitting there and taking down everybody's name and passing out ballots. And in many locations, you know some of the people, and they know you at that jurisdiction. Space Shot is right. Very hyper local. Most of these places will have, right, and in most of the country, not in the cities, but in most of the country, you'll see, 500, 1,000, 2,000 tops people vote at one of these little precincts. And there isn't too much question on identity because, like I said, hey, you know these folks, right? It's Bill from down the street. Oh, it's Sarah that I saw at church or your place of worship over the weekend. Hey, I know these people. There's weird things going on. So, older parts of the country, judges of elections are often elected. Yes. Or, if not elected, selected by a panel of elected elected officials in that part of the country. So, your neighbor across the street does it. Yeah, there you go. So, to those of you outside the states that are watching the news and saying, "What the heck is happening?" We had our suspicions going through November. We had our suspicions that this doesn't sound right. The amount of energy and fervor for one candidate versus the other. There was a similar complaint in 2020 by the other side, by the right side. This is the left side, and the complaint in 2020 didn't have any statistics or facts or anything to back that up. They tried to go and look at numbers and the like, and when they brought court cases, they didn't have any evidence. There's evidence now. So, with that backdrop and the power grab that's been happening in this country, many Americans are not happy with what's going on economically, and with the federal government. So I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that at the top here as an American, as some insight into somebody who is. I live in the suburbs. I'm not involved with federal government. I'm not an immigrant. I'm not touched by some of these things. But we find everything that's going on disturbing, and the fact that it's constantly in our face. So we want to do something about this. We're not at a point where the local folks in the suburbs and whatnot are equipped to do something more about it yet. You're going to see activities in cities more and more over the next few weeks. We're particularly concerned about what's going to happen with this parade in DC. It's never been done before in the United States. Why? We're concerned. Your friends across the pond often find the decentralization and hyper-local government, to be very different. Like, wow, why are things done so different in California versus Louisiana? Yes. Traditional U.S. government was local over federal. Yes. And it's changed more and more. It has changed more and more. And the MAGA are... It's amazing to me how hateful the MAGA folks are. The Make America Great Again folks. They claim to be religious. They claim to be God-fearing. But they're full of hate. And it's disturbing. Third party would be beneficial at some point. And I think we're nearing that point because I think there are folks on the right who are not happy with MAGA and would prefer to have their own candidate. So, I think there's something coming. What? No matter. Moving on. Let's get back into talking about some tech. Let's get back into this. Free to come up to Canada. We have cookies. Yes, there you go. Thank you so much for the follow. Seabiscuit 1514. Hello. You're non-affiliated, but with this nonsense, I didn't want to connect it with it anymore. Yes. Yes. So, let's get back into tech here. Let me head over and show you this new website that I launched yesterday. I tried to launch it over the weekend, but man, did I have problems. This is copilot.jawn.com. This is a website that I built because I at Microsoft Build, I was asked questions many times about, hey, how do I do this? I'm having a problem and can't figure out this. And my answer wasn't, I could have said, oh, there's an article on the documentation that explains how to do that. Oh, there's a tutorial over here that tells you how to do that. More and more, I was answering Copilot that. Ask Copilot, it'll give you a link to that and point you in the right direction, and it could even suggest code for you. And after answering it 3 or 4 times with my attempted non-regional accent and very generic American approach to things, I started dropping all pretense and started saying, just Copilot that, Jawn. Just go out there and Copilot. And it kind of stuck. And the idea of saying, just go Copilot the things. I know we're at an ad here on Twitch for the next minute and a half. I see a handful of you over there watching on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching on the YouTube. This became more and more of an idea where, quite frankly, the Philly slang term of Jawn makes more and more sense with this. In a very ironic kind of way, right? The idea of co-piloting something. Hey, go use Copilot to learn more about it. You don't know what that is. So why not use a nonsense slang term that's hyper regional, like Jawn? Go Copilot that Jawn. I don't know what Jawn is. Exactly. I don't know what that is. Well, Copilot it. I did put together an about page that does tell you what Jawn means. So, I stood up this website. I'm using Azure Container Apps to run this. I've got output caching built in here. I'm not using distributed caching with Redis yet, but it does load pretty quick. It's not bad being able to get around and see some of the content. There's more I want to do here, but I've been generating articles. Literally generating articles with the idea of let's learn how to use Copilot and our AI tools better. So that's what's going on here. Like, I generated this article, and I say generate. I'm using Copilot, asking it to help write these articles, and then I'm twisting them. Hey, I want you to explain more about this. Give me a real example of how to do that. And getting some of these requests generated and building articles has been insightful. It's interesting. Oh, go ahead, take a look at that hat. Go ahead. There you go. So I'm going to continue iterating and building and getting content in here. I've marked the articles as being written by either the website or by GitHub Copilot because they're being generated. Come on, open that one. There you go. So we're getting there. We're building some cool stuff. I'm enjoying this, and I'm going to continue iterating on it. I think it was a fun website to stand up quickly. There's more categories that I'm going to define and place out here. Thank you, Phil. I've started working on an enhancement for this so that I can easily put screenshots in. I would have preferred to have run this with SharpSite, but SharpSite's not ready yet. So I just generated all of the markup for this. Yes, that's right. So all of the source code for this is available because I'm not doing anything crazy in here. Where is it? There's a contributing link. There it is. So you can see exactly how to get to it. And the source code's out here. You're welcome to take a look. You're welcome to clone, to copy, whatever. But the way that we're writing articles is there's a content folder, and there's all the markdown. So that markdown gets parsed and turned into these cards that you see here. And there's a whole search mechanism here. There's tagging, there's categories, so that you can bounce around and see different content that uses the different tools that you have available. And Phil points out, yes, I've been using Copilot, the Copilot agent, software engineering agent, right, to fix a number of the issues out here. So I've identified various issues, and I've assigned Copilot to them, and it goes and fixes it. So let's look at this one. So I have a little console app called Content Uploader that takes that markdown and puts it into Azure Table Storage. That way it can be loaded and modified, and it's all sitting out there, and it's not something that needs to be updated in a container or whatnot. I can just upload it up there. Well, let's make sure that when it loads content, it only uploads new or updated articles. And I assigned Copilot to work on this. And Copilot went, like, I gave it one line. And it went and generated a pull request here. You're welcome to take a look. I'll even drop the link here in chat. It went, investigated what the current behavior was, and suggested changes, and went and updated that. So it started hashing the content and storing a SHA hash of that article content, implemented a calculate hash method, and implemented a method to safely retrieve existing content so it can compare and say what's new, what isn't. So my upload process, it updated to reflect we're only going to upload those where the hash is different. And I also had it update the logs that it generates. And it ran some tests there to make sure things work. What I should do is have this generate unit tests that actually sit here and run with the application. I can get there, but I don't want to work on this today. This is out here. It's completed. I want to go work on some other projects. I'm going to come back to your questions here in just a second. The actions that run coming off of this. So there's a content sync that runs once a day that goes out there and takes the existing markdown and verifies that there's no changes. When content is updated in that content folder, this action runs automatically and it uploads the content. So I generated an article last night, Add Comprehensive Guide for Using Copilot to Create and Manage. Oh, you're not going to show me the rest of that? To create and manage a schedule. This is something that my wife does, actually. She uses Excel to create and manage attendance schedules, right? Excel is just a big grid, so to turn it into an attendance check-in thing, easy. So, hey, go generate something that has some tips for how to do this better. And the action runs, it counts up the number of content articles because I have a badge in the GitHub repository. It builds my little console application, and then it uploads the content. And there you see the log where it analyzes all the things. Hey, thanks so much for the follow. The Fordrick, welcome. And then I get a little summary here. It added one new article. 10 articles were not changed. There's now 11 articles on the website. I even had Copilot Agent generate a method both in the website and inside the content uploader so that it can touch and force the cache to reload on the website. and it comes back and tells me it was successful. You can see how I built that, and you can see the code for that. That's another pull request sitting out here. Enhanced cache refresh. Here it goes. And we can see, where is it? Did I do this one? I might have done this one locally. Yeah, I must have. But you can see exactly how it changed and was enhanced. And there's now a, there's an environment variable, an API key effectively that gets passed between GitHub and the Azure service that says, here's the key to refresh this. I don't even know what that key is. It's stored as a configuration setting in Azure Key Vault for the website. It's stored in the secrets of this repository. So I can't even see what that value is. So you're welcome to look at the pull request. You're welcome to look at this. We can even generate some documentation that explains how this works. I have some documentation here about some of the workflow, some of the structure here, so you can dive in and learn more about that. How content management works. So, image isn't used yet. I'm working on that part so that there's a front image. So, I had a lot of fun building this. I'm going to continue to enhance and talk about how it grows over the next few weeks. But importantly, I needed a way to learn better ways to use Copilot. And not just GitHub Copilot, but all the Copilots. And this was a cool way for me to start down that path. Let me catch up on some of the questions on chat. C# Titan asks, what LLM works best with Copilot in VS Code? Right now, Claude 4 is really, really accurate. It does very well with Blazor and .NET, much better than Claude 3.5 and 3.7. However, Claude 4, because it's so new, is rate limited. Claude 3.5 and 3.7, though, will get you most of the way there. So Anthropic's Claude 4 is the one that I recommend. And I think that's the one that the agent on GitHub, when you assign a pull request, I think that's the one it actually uses. And you can see Copilot is one of my contributors here. This is open. If you have a tip that you want to write and submit, you can submit a tip here, and we'll merge it in and get it on the website. So, one of the features that I am in the middle of building is right now this doesn't support inline images. You can't put screenshots in the middle of the articles. I'm adding that feature, and I have to review some code and get it published. Manoj with a question here. What's the difference between Ask, Edit, and Agent in Copilot chat? Oh, man. That is actually one of the tips. And I'll share this. There you go. So Ask mode is quick focused assistance. It's your go-to for quick specific coding questions. So it's asking a knowledgeable coding buddy. It'll provide links to the things that it's suggesting. Agent mode is actually somebody there who's going to write code and work with you. So, and then there's a little table here to help you choose between the different modes. So, some pro tips, some common use cases, and some tips to improve your efficiency. So, pretty cool. So, and this was actually an article that I wanted to write. I had some ideas. Told Copilot, go generate, this is the topic I want you to cover. Make sure you mention these things and give me a comparison table that tells me when I should use both. It generated these. It gave me a couple samples up here. And there it is, the samples. Oh, go ahead, take a look at the hat. There you go. So I really like that. As an assistant to help me write, I like that. I need to infuse more of my tone in how this is generating code for me to feel like I actually wrote it, but we're getting there. Greenish Pepper says, thanks for the reply. Do I have to sign up for the AI workshop in July? No. Do I have a link so you can see more info on this? I need to put a link on the wall there, and I need to start promoting it here. It is... Here we go. I got you. There you go, Greenish Pepper. There's a link to it. No info on the hat? No, there it is. It came up. There you go. So like I said, I'm pretty happy with how this works right now. There's even an RSS feed. So if you want to get regular tips here that are coming through, you can subscribe and get the RSS feed. A little bit of lag. The hat detection, what it used to do was just a straight image comparison. Which one of these is it? What it does now, McNats, is it's actually taking that picture, analyzing it, bouncing it off of an LLM, and reporting what it thinks it is. So, and this is a Penn State version of the hat because, right, I think, yeah, there you go. You can see the logo over here. So, there were different colored hats and versions of this for different colleges. So this is the blue and white one for Penn State with a little bit of gray background. Hey, ice cream stick model, you started to learn Blazor and use it in your free time project. Nice. Nice. And I saw our friend Nick Chapsis had a video about the real reason folks don't use Blazor. And he chalked it up, and it was a reply to was it a Reddit thread or a Hacker News thread? I think it was a Reddit thread. And quite frankly, the Blazor team saw this article before Nick posted his video, and we looked at it and we kind of agree with a little bit of what folks are saying in there, but I don't think we entirely agree with Nick. The big feedback is the develop time, the inner loop of you write some code, you get some feedback. Because Blazor is fully compiled compared to the JavaScript languages and frameworks, it takes a little bit of time to compile, redeploy, and update. It was Reddit. Okay, thank you. So the hot reload experience with Blazor is inferior to the reload experience, the hot reload experience that you get when you work with React or Vue or Angular or choose the JavaScript. I'm looking at college football. Choose the JavaScript framework du jour. So, is it named the worst Blazor feature? No. No, it's called like the real reason developers don't use Blazor or something like that. It was released like yesterday, I think. And we agree, hot reload can be improved. We've got folks that are working on it. And it's something that we want to improve. We really want to improve. Okay. So the team hears that. There are other priorities, though, that we want to deliver also. So we've only got so many people that we can devote to working on different features. And all of this is open source. You are welcome to go and look up the source code and interact with it and send pull requests and help improve that. Not a lot of people are doing that. And Microsoft only has so many developers. So a feature that isn't sold, that isn't a that is not revenue generating, is not, this is just good business, is not going to receive as much development effort as features that do generate revenue. Nope, we can't do anything about hot reload in Visual Studio. Correct. .NET Watch is pretty good. It's not great. It's pretty good. So, the Aspire dashboard is all written in Blazor. Yes, you're right, Imran. Let me go back to chat here so we can talk. You're right. It's pretty good. And the new features in the dashboard to use things like Copilot are really cool. Really cool. That's a revenue generating feature. So it's going to receive a little bit more attention than hot reload. Those are business decisions, and there comes times where they're going to put more people on hot reload, and there's going to come times where, you know what, we need to invest more resources in building and working on another feature over here. And they'll balance that. That's the nature of managing a development team. So, other comments about Blazor being slow or unwieldy and large have been addressed. The download size for Blazor WebAssembly applications is manageable now. The speed at which Blazor renders and delivers content in the browser is, with server-side rendering, is really good. So there's options there. There's options. And it's all improving it. And the things that you're seeing coming with .NET 10 are going to make it even better. Zebcode says, I'm really liking server-side events. They're not bi-directional like WebSockets. However, I think you can just use post to update. Yes. I think I know what you're talking about. Yes. Ice Cream Stick Model asks, is it possible to use normal REST API instead of SignalR in Blazor? Is it possible to configure interactive server mode? No. Interactive server mode is going to use, for managing the events and the state of the user interface, it's going to use SignalR to communicate, right? And SignalR has failovers there. However, you can use REST APIs if you'd like, but those REST APIs are going to be called on the server. They're not going to be called in the browser. So, hey, how you doing there? Thank you for joining. However, what you can do, you can deliver components of your application as WebAssembly. They'll be rendered server-side, but once they're built and downloaded in the browser, they can run as WebAssembly, and then you can use those to make RESTful calls back to the server. You won't notice any difference if you create that WebAssembly library, have it referenced by your Blazor server-side application, and you embed those components on the website. They'll initially, the first visit, they'll be rendered and run server-side. This is the hybrid nature of Blazor, right? And something that in his video, Nick complains is confusing. And he's not wrong. It does get confusing because nobody else has this capability. Take a look at the hat. Go ahead. So it is confusing because nobody else does this. That says something about the technical superiority that Blazor has, because nobody else does this. Having that capability means you can control where your components run. So in the case of Ice Cream Stick Model, who wants to be able to run a little bit of code on client side so that it interacts and reaches back and makes RESTful calls, you can do that if you want to run Blazor code like that. Additionally, you can run JavaScript on client side. You can do that. It integrates very nicely. You can interact with it, and you can instruct things to call JavaScript that make RESTful calls back and update things. You can absolutely do that. All of that flexibility and power is available to you You can choose exactly where and what technology runs every part of your application, right? That's the thing that folks aren't seeing. Nick describes that as a handicap, as something that's difficult to do. Maybe there's some tooling that can help with that, but having full control of what technology runs your code and where it runs, including in the browser, that's an awesome thing. That's an awesome thing. You watched my videos about for beginners on Aspire recently, very useful. McNets, I have some intermediate level ones coming out. Later today, I'm recording videos that are going to go on the Microsoft site about creating your own tracing, adding your own tracing into your application, and creating your own metrics. Those are going to be coming out in a bit here. So, you're going to try to move your last WinUI app to Blazor just for fun? Cool. That's cool. Hey, George over there on YouTube. Hello. Good to see you. There you go. There's the hat. Imran on YouTube comments, the new trace matrices of Blazor OTel stuff on .NET 10 improves the debugging experience. Yes. I've read about it, haven't done it yet, and quite frankly, I'm holding off till we're through just a couple more previews, and then I'm going to be getting into that. But yes, there are some big updates coming to Blazor. Not as big as the .NET 8 update to Blazor. I don't think anything's going to be as big as that. So, you'd really like to see Aspire be more production ready? Help me out with that, Zebcode. This is a question that I get, and I try to talk through with our customers a lot. What does more production ready mean to you? Where you can run the dashboard in production? You can. You can. In fact, oops. I put my keyboard into Overwatch mode. Stand by. Let me go to the Azure portal for Copilot.Jawn because I believe it's deployed over there. Yep, there it is. Yep. So when you deploy, right, and this is because Microsoft has built the entire pipeline for this so that it goes into Azure, you can deploy and run this wherever you'd like. The dashboard runs in a container. You can point any OpenTelemetry collecting application at that container and the dashboard will run. And you can see, right, this is the resource group for Copilot.Jawn. It's running as an Azure Container app, and there's my link to the dashboard, and here it is. So, right, there's the URL. There it's running, but I can see the console right there. I can see the structured logs, right? There's some errors, right? And I can dig in and see what exactly happened there. Unhandled exception while executing the request. What was the request? Yeah, somebody's trying to get into the obj folder. Denied. Yep. I can see the traces that are going on. Right? There's some of those errors. Right? I can take a look and see the exceptions that are being run. Robson Previato, thank you so much. to Robo Digitales. Thank you so much for... Oh, wait a sec. 5. Woo! 5 gift subs into the channel. Thank you so much. By the Sea, Lizard Seagull, Jockbach59, Big Hat, and the last one was down there, Robot Digitales. Thank you so much for the gift subs. Robson Previato, much appreciate. I really thank you so much. So this runs in a container. There's instructions out there about how to install and run this wherever you'd like. I will warn you that the logs and things that this hosts are managed in memory. They're not intended... Let me go back to metrics. They're not intended to be sitting out here running forever. Okay? You're not going to show me? There you go. There's the request durations over the last 12 hours. So... 7 seconds for a first request. If we go over like the last 30 minutes, because I've seen some of you out there hitting the site, right? Some initial slowness, but then once it's cached, it runs quickly. And I can do more to improve that cache and make it better. So. The most annoying advert on Twitch is for a product you already own. Sorry about that. Is there DNS integration available in Aspire? Yes. Yes. You can set up... It won't update DNS for you, but you can configure custom URLs here. And yeah, these are my custom domain URLs that I configured for the website, and it'll jump me into it. So this is the application. This is the individual container, and I can see them on the graph. If I had databases and other resources that were connected, we'd be able to see these. How much is this costing per day in container apps? So there's the container app. I don't think this is going to show a cost on this. No. I think it was something like a nickel a day for the past 2 days, but depending on how many people are hitting it, will determine how many containers it's running and responding with, so that cost could go up. That cost could level out if I add more caching capabilities. So right now I'm looking at about a nickel a day. So, but we're just at the start of this. So, can I look at cost by resource group? I'm not going to do that. Because there's other resources in the group that those resources cost a little bit more than that. So not bad. The big one is the container registry. That's the one that costs a little bit. No, a nickel is not the same as a dime. No. So I'm going to close that up. And I do have Google Analytics running on the site, because I want to know if folks are using the site. And if folks aren't using the site, I'll stop investing my time in it. And I'll shut it down and stop spending the money on it. Like, that's just being realistic, right? If folks aren't using a product that you deployed, well, we don't necessarily need to spend time running it then, right? Yeah, I can see on Google Analytics that there's a handful of you out there taking a look at the site. There we go. That's fine. It's good to see that you're taking a look and you're wandering around on it. Great. So, nice to see Azure Container Apps having the Aspire dashboard. Yeah. AI is still pretty expensive, though, for hobbies, isn't it? So, if you use the GitHub Copilot free models, it's free. You're going to be limited, but if it's a hobby project you're working on, you're probably within your limit. Some of the more advanced things that I've been doing would definitely be costing me money. Right? GitHub Copilot free models. So Copilot is free to get started. All of the AI models start to have a cost to work with it. All of the AI tools. Once you start doing something more advanced, it's going to start costing you, right? So because I'm working with because I'm using my work account, I actually have there's like an enterprise that I have that gives me full access to all these things. But there is, where is it? The models. Not plans. No. No, where is it? GitHub Market Models Free. There they are. So if you're building an app and you want to use an AI model, going back to, I think it was Ice Cream Stick model, it was no, it was Greenish Pepper, was asking, how do I include AI in my app? Not build with AI, but include it. There are models that are available. So if you want to use GPT-4.1, you can get in and use some of this for free, right? Where is it? The model catalog. There they are. There's like 2,000 models out here. It's ridiculous how many models there are. But you can get started with this for free. Yeah, here we go. Free plan available. Did they hide the article? No, I'm not going to go digging any further, but you can go find information about them. So, pretty easy to get started with. And yes, when you start using these tools heavily, any AI tool is going to start to cost you because there is processing power behind it. So, you have no idea how they can afford to provide Copilot for free because they want you to buy it. All the AI tools, all the cloud tools do that. They're giving you services for free with the hope that at some point you say, I really like this and I want to do more with it, so I'm going to pay for it. Or you take it to your boss at work and say, hey, this is pretty good. We should use this for things at work. And they buy it. So, Johan, my goodness.
Have just resubscribed for 75 months.
75 months. Thank you so much. Napalm comments, I'd like to use agent mode for some personal stuff, but doesn't it blow through tokens like nobody's business? It does use tokens quickly, yes. I don't know if which level is appropriate for which. I don't know. You're welcome to stop using it. Sure. You want to do both? Use it for coding and code it within my apps? Yep. Yep. Do I know if and when Visual Studio will have agent mode? It does now, Carax. It's getting better. It needs some help. It's a little bit behind what's in VS Code, but they are working on and improving it. They say they're going to have a monthly release schedule with that. So if you install preview mode of Visual Studio, you'll see it available in there. You like using the GPT models, but you also feel like they're becoming your go-to? Yes. I definitely feel that as well, Zeb. I definitely feel that. So, yeah, thank you for the link, Unesco. Gonna try and use Fritz's Playwright demo from Build this weekend. So I needed to re-record that. The video from Build was corrupted and lost. So I'm re-recording that right after this stream. So get a Copilot agent pill for free. Yeah, it is the same And everybody's doing it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but everybody's doing it. Hey, try before you buy. Right? You see this with all kinds of tech products. Try before you buy, especially software products. Right? Sign up for this, try it for a couple weeks for free. If you like it and continue to use it, we'll charge you $10 a month. So, you see it with non-tech products too? Oh, sure, right? The streaming services are notorious for this. So, yes. Oops. So, so I am definitely using a lot more of Copilot inside of my applications when building my applications. And quite frankly, a lot of that is because in my job, building the applications is secondary to my goals. So, can I show you? There was a really neat, I haven't tried this yet, but there was a suggestion that came across about using a prompt in Copilot to, about how asking Copilot to suggest ways that you can use AI in work. So, have I tried the new Postgres extension? No. Right, that you're talking about the Postgres extension for VS Code. Now, that says I've got, there's Docker DX. Which one is that? Let me, because I see a handful of these extensions here. I want to make sure I'm trying to download. Yeah, the VS Code one. But I see, is it this one? This is the one with the most downloads, even though it doesn't have an icon here. No, it doesn't. Yeah. Chris Funk.
Chris Funk 21 just resubscribed for 47 months.
Thank you so much. 47 months with us. Almost 4 years. Thank you so much for that support. We got a hype train started. 4.5 minutes. Much appreciate the hype train friends. Last released 2 years ago. Last released, this one's 2025. This is last week. This one, 2023. And folks still install it. And older versions are not supported. Redshift is not supported. Like, this is feeling the snowball effect of, it's the one at the top, so install it. But I think this is the one. It does some telemetry reporting. Better working with tables, executing SQL queries. This looks like a better PG admin than PG admin. And this has the official logo, right? And it's validated. So, sure. What's that doing? Right there. AI Toolkit, and then that's AI Foundry, Telerik, GitHub, testing, more extensions, blah, blah, blah. Go ahead, restart. So, we'll take a look. We'll add more of that. There's some of the markdown that I was generating. So, 3 minutes left on the hype train. What else? I think that's all I wanted to talk about. There's that error. I keep getting that because I installed an old prototype version of the Razor engine. And I have no idea how to uninstall it. I've tried uninstalling and reinstalling all the things, and it's still out there. Phil with the cheer. Thank you so much. nudging along that hype train. I'm one of those people that cheers 50 bits at a time also. That way I can cheer for more people more frequently. So, okay. I didn't want to spend more time on Copilot that Jawn, but you will see me do more with this. It's free, it's open source. Let me know what you think. Open issues, send over some tips that you'd like to see turned into articles. Open issues with, hey, I'd like to see an article about, and we can get that created and loaded on the site to make it easier to discover. All right? That's the whole idea with this thing is I want to make it easier to remember and find ways that I can use AI better. So it's only going to make us more productive. All right. I want to go back over and work on SharpSight. And I think I did talk last time about how I did use AI to generate the little Liberty Bell robot icon there. So, moving on. Let's go back over and talk about SharpSight, which is right here. There we go. We were working on building database install scripts. The ability to inject and configure the database for SharpSight. That's our CMS that we've been building here on stream. I worry that it might get a little heavy, right? I want SharpSight to be able to run inside of a container, but I worry it's going to get a little heavy. Know what I'm saying? Like, we want this to be lean and mean and small. Let's see. Let's do. Nope, wrong one. There we go. It is up here. Oops. That's what I get for not having my hands centered on the home row. So if we go into the web, right, and go into the bin folder, and we look at what's in here. No. Come here. Really? Give me a. You're not going to give me a total. Looking at the total size of this folder, you're still not going to give me a total. Right now, that's 37 meg. That's not bad. For a content management system only being 37 meg, that's not bad. I can work with that. So, and that does have all of our reference libraries included here. So, I feel pretty good about that. C# Titan asks, what was the issue with the container for Copilot that Jawn deployment issue? I was running into an issue where deploying the container, so I was deploying the container initially to a GitHub container registry, and I was trying to get app service to pull in that image whenever it was updated, and because the registry was private, I had to do logins to allow it to access it, and Azure wouldn't log in properly with the credentials that I gave it to be able to access it. I know there's a way to do it, but after spending an hour or two fiddling and trying to configure it, I just moved on. It was like, this is taking way too much of my time. Let's go do something else. And the thought that I was going to deploy a new image for each update to the content because they were marked down sitting on disk felt like a felt like a mistake. So I moved the content to Azure Table Storage so that I'm not updating those container images every time I deploy. So I delivered an architecture upgrade, a system architecture improvement that I was going to need, and improved, reduced the size of the container. Right. What is it? Oh, man. Go into web, bin. Let's go to release. Sure. That one doesn't have the PDBs in it. It does for some of the code that I wrote. Yes, I said start. So there's the code that I published at one point. That's only 20 meg. That doesn't include all of the markdown. That's been uploaded and sits somewhere else. 20 meg is pretty easy to handle and push around. So, a lot of my files are PDB. Would they usually be deployed? No, they would not. No. I was just looking at the debug folder there to bounce around. So, Visual Studio closed all your browser windows. Oh, that's annoying. When you open a tab with the Visual Studio debugger and then you stop the debugger, yeah, Visual Studio will kill the entire browser. Yeah, that's annoying. So, how you doing, Dr. Talk? Welcome, welcome. You need to develop an on-premise BI system with lots of millions rows, lots of analytics dashboard. Working with that much data, you're going to want to set up some sort of caching mechanism for your intermediate calculations that you're going to display on the dashboard. No, DU isn't a thing on Windows. If you're building an application for internal use, yeah, you're going to want to cache intermediate calculations of those millions of rows, regardless of the number of users. You're going to want to cache some of those calculations. I question how frequently those rows are updated. That's going to affect those statistical calculations. Is this something that makes sense to update once an hour? Once a day? Once a request is made and cache it for a certain amount of time? Figuring out what your caching pre-calculation strategy is going to help you, because you're not going to want to run calculations all the time on those. You're going to want to work with some indexes, right, on your data to make sure that you're able to search across that quickly, calculate it quickly. Depending on the database system you're using, those indexes will pre-calculate some of the metrics that you're looking to generate. Tools like Power BI can run locally and generate amazing dashboards for you. So, yeah, LS works in plain PowerShell. Yeah. It's aliased. SQL Server is able to handle that. It is. SQL Server is definitely able to handle that on-prem. You can create indexes on your tables, create views on your tables, and index those views so that you have pre-calculations done for you. It will take more processing power. But with large data comes more power. So, all very doable. Running stored procedures on a scheduled basis to pre-calculate and update cache tables will go a long way for you. My concerns are going to be when you're talking about building a system that's going to manage millions of rows. What's your calculation strategy? Where are you going to be caching the data that comes out of that to make the website more responsive, the application more responsive? I'm assuming it's a website, but it could be desktop application, mobile application. You're saying it's internal, so I'm guessing it's an intranet application. But figuring out what your pre-calculation strategy looks like, figuring out, and Johan, I was on the money there also. What's the rate of change on that based on the number of users that you have? Because that's going to affect questions around locking strategy. I wouldn't jump right into event storage. How much is your content? How much is your content? Being modified. Not at all. Okay. Some calculations depend on what the user is filtering. Set up those indexes, index views on some of those criteria that folks are going to be searching on, so you can reduce the number of rows that SQL Server is crawling as quickly as possible. That's the key strategy, right? Set up indexes so that you can reduce, get to a key lookup as quickly as possible. Once you've done a key lookup and you've narrowed down to a couple hundred rows, doing a filter on something that isn't indexed, piece of cake at that point. Doing that in memory is a piece of cake. Go minimal, find out what hurts? Absolutely. Yep. Get some examples of what some of those queries are that folks are going to want to be able to use on your data. Your database administrator is your friend. That's their whole job, is understanding and knowing how to cache and index values. Setting up temporary tables, cache tables that have pre-calculated values sitting out there. And how you can use those inside your application will go a long way. There's even scenarios where it makes sense to pre-calculate data, store it as JSON in a text field, not a varchar, in a text field, next to some sort of a key that says, okay, in this scenario, here's the rolled up data, because you don't care what's in that data when you're querying. You've already decided, here's what the record that I need. You're looking that up by key, grabbing that JSON blob, and inside your application, transforming it into the presentation. But start minimal and grow it there. Dr. Talk asks, are views that summarize key metrics, total by depth, by month, by staff? I love how Teams just interrupts here. Is that pre-calculated as efficient as creating summary data tables every night? No, summary data tables are much more efficient. Much more efficient. When you're talking about millions of rows, summary data tables is going to significantly help you. Yeah, kiss my pixels. That was somebody messaging me on Teams here. And, yeah. So. All right. I want to go back into SharpSite, but at the same time, I'm really inspired by the work that I've been doing on Copilot.Jawn. And I want to wrench on that a little bit. Ads just started for the next 2 minutes over here on Twitch. It looks like in the next week or so, I'm going to do some live coding over on the .NET channel. So, Copilot this stream, Sharpsight the next. I did Copilot stuff the last couple streams. I did it Thursday and Friday last week. So, let me dive in here a little bit. And I've got some ideas that I'm working on to make the playwright tests with Aspire. Make that a little more accessible for folks. Oh, darn it. Wrong folder. Let's see. Where am I? Almost there. There we go. Sharpsight ++. Rock, paper, scissors, best of 3 to decide. Nah, let me jump back over to Sharpsight. Yep, there's that thing. I don't remember where we left off. Database configuration, user interface. I think that's where we left off. Were we? Oh, we were getting ready to do the integration with the security bits. And get those working as part of this. And abstracting away some of the database vendor stuff. Kiss My Pixels asked, are we donating subs to someone? No, so it's been 6 months. I don't mind discussing that again. As of January this year, I did stop donating subscriptions. Quite frankly, some of the apps and things that we've been building on stream, I do not have unlimited Azure subscription that I can use to host these things. So the donations go to supporting and growing some of the apps that we have on stream that we need to pay to host and have sitting out there. So they do get reinvested right back into the content that exists on this stream. So and quite frankly, my Azure bills in 2024, I was over on my allocation, right? I do have a small allocation that I get for free from work, but I was over by a couple $100 every month. So at that point, it was I'm making donations when I need to donate some of this to paying for some of the stuff we're doing here. So thank you. That means a lot.
I don't even do net.
Thank you. I did talk last week about how I want to dive in and learn and do more with TypeScript. I want to be able to show and use more with TypeScript and Aspire and how we can use those together. So that's absolutely something that I want to get into so that I am doing a little bit more than just .NET. So thank you so much, Kiss My Pixels. I really appreciate that. Chris Funk with a related question. Since there weren't any streams in May, am I planning on doing something for St. Jude on stream? I want to do something for St. Jude on stream. Yes. I need to figure out how to get that back running again, because I'm outside of their normal fundraiser window for things on Twitch. And I've been pretty transparent about this. Not a problem, Chris Funk, and I'm happy to share. I made the hard decision not to stream in May because I was having there was significant personal and professional challenges that I was facing, and it would not have been in my best interest to stream. It might not look like it, but this right here is kind of hard to do. There's not a lot of folks that can do this well, but so I made the hard decision to postpone streams for the month of May because I had so many things happening, and quite frankly, because I was taking holiday the fourth week of May, I was going to be at Microsoft Build the third week of May. I only had 2 weeks to actually stream and raise money for St. Jude in May, and that didn't feel like I was giving it the respect that a fundraiser like that deserves. And quite frankly, I wouldn't be able to stream for as long and as focused on those because I had so much content I was building and generating and delivering for Microsoft Build. So I had to pull back on that a little bit. I do want to do something, the other thing that I'm sorry I missed was Twitch was making significant donations through various streams and helping put people on front page in the month of May that were fundraising for St. Jude. And I even got a chance to talk to some of those folks, and I'm disappointed that I didn't get a chance to participate in any of that. I will tell you that I have applied to be on front page of Twitch for the last 2 months, and I've been declined both times. Some of the stuff that we were doing here about getting started and learning how to use AI better is what I was going to do on the front page, and they declined my requests. I'm submitting requests for July. We'll see what happens. So we're getting there. We're getting there. We're gonna do more. I'm gonna reach out to, and quite frankly, I feel blessed. I feel trusted that I have made friends at the St. Jude organization that I can reach out to and coordinate with, and they're happy to take my phone call and have those discussions. I realize that I am kind of privileged in that way, and I'm going to attempt to use a little bit of that privilege to help raise money on and off month for the folks at St. Jude when it's a little bit lower pressure and we can have a little bit more fun with this. So Kiss My Pexel says, I'm currently enjoying .NET in a project with a couple of buddies. I like it, but not sure if I like it more than Spring and Kotlin, at least not professionally. Okay. Hey, what do you like? What don't you like about your .NET experience? Let's talk about that. Nasquito 3, love the talk, old is gold. Is it? Things that run and do a good job and are productive, I think, are very good out there. You can never build something with this many people watching. I'd start crying the first 10 minutes. I get stuck on something. Oh, kiss my pixels. Oh, kiss my pixels. Yes, I completely get it. What I've come to terms with, and it's hard for some folks to do this. I know that you're not watching this to see me generate perfect code every time. I've come to terms with that. I'm okay with you don't want to see the perfect development experience. That's not why you're tuned in here. Yes, you want to see and hear somebody who's authoritative and knows what they're doing and can talk from experience and relate those experiences to things that you do out there. Totally get that. But I know that you want to see how I get out of a jam. You want to see how I face an issue and work around it. Solve a problem that would stump folks. And that's why I let you do things to kind of challenge me and kind of make me a little uncomfortable here, because I think it's fun. I think the interaction that we have here is amazing. And quite frankly, I value the smaller size of our stream because I can talk towards everybody that is chatting, discussing here. I want to make sure that you get your questions answered. I don't want you to have to make a $5 donation for me to read your question and answer it on screen. I really don't want to do that. I want to be able to give everybody an opportunity to participate. That's important to me. Mosquito says, I think a teacher can do that way. Give me a little more context. Using pronouns on some of the comments on Twitch, in chat, when conversation is going on a little bit, it makes it hard to get the context. Ask me the question again. Give me a little more of the information around that, and we'll talk more. Hey, the Neo on YouTube. Hello. Bit O'Brien says, I'm amazing. Get rest and get paid. Thank you. I'm a great creator. That is very kind. Yeah, thank you. I've been doing more work on my tag, and I'm almost at a point where we're going to launch a very limited private preview. I showed some more folks over the weekend some of the features of my tag. Non-technical folks again, and they're really interested in it. And I mentioned before, in April, I showed some folks at some other Twitch streamers while I was visiting St. Jude. I showed them my tag. They're very interested in it, and I asked their opinions of the pricing model. They were very much on board with, yeah, absolutely, I would pay that much to use the service. So it's almost time to launch my tag. So getting rest and getting paid, that's coming. That's coming. Exploring other platforms is a great way to grow. Absolutely. You bet the .NET and ASP.NET teams would love the feedback from people who make their home on other platforms. They do. And to Space Shot's point, a lot of the folks do spend time reading and seeing what folks like in other development frameworks and platforms. That's right. We all grow when folks share things open source. We get a chance to read it. We get a chance to look at what folks are enjoying, what are advancements and features that people like, and then they circulate and become parts of other tools, frameworks, and so forth. So, like, async await, that keyword feature set was developed by the C# and .NET teams. Like, that didn't come along in JavaScript and TypeScript until way after async await was deployed and available in .NET. Like, and that's okay because it was open source. And sure, go take a look. This is something that we can all grow from and make our development experience better. So, is it true that a stream can get so large that the chat is just a river of text and it is a broadcast instead of a community? Yes, it is. It is absolutely true. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Robson. Oh my gosh, that's very kind. Mosquito says, I was poking on Kiss My Pixels. Ah, okay. Yeah. I got you now. Thank you. Appreciate the clarification. You can definitely tell I like EF Core better than Hibernate, and that Link is a foundational part of the language and the framework itself. There was a YouTube video that went out yesterday that the .NET team picked up on, and it was somebody from outside the .NET community talking about why C# is cool again. Where did it go? David Fowler was talking about it, and I think he was talking about it on Blue Sky. Let me see if I can find that real quick. But one of the things that these folks were talking about, yeah, here it is. C# is cool again, and you can't avoid it. I'll share the link for this, because for many of us as .NET developers, and I'm going to mute that for right now, just let it go by. Here's the link if you want to watch this on your own.
They managed to drag the entire C# ecosystem out of the enterprise grade, and somehow they made the language kind of cool. Between .NET Core, the new compiler features, and the rise of
This,
Blazor,
I think, is
or the
interesting.
multi-platform
And
UI,
one of the
C#
things
is starting to look
this guy
less
talks
like a corporate
about
dinosaur and more
is
like a modern
C#
productive
was never a
language that
dinosaur.
might actually be fun to use. So let's spend the next
He
few
mentions
minutes looking
Link
at what C# is
as
like today,
something
how the
that
.NET
is
ecosystem
really cool
evolved,
that
and
nobody
whether
else
it
really
makes
has.
sense to invest your time in this stack. As a quick side note, I'm a developer with 15 years of experience,
There you go.
mostly on the back end with Java or Kotlin,
Sure.
and some front-end pain in between. I've tried most of the cool languages, which are praised by tech
I-
streamers, but I also like to review
yeah,
the ones
look.
that quietly evolved while nobody is really paying attention. Before looking at all the cool things C# is offering, let's take a 30 seconds history detour to put things
The
into
other
perspective. C#
those other cool kids languages, Go and Rust and the like they have their advantages, they have their place, but you can't be productive with them. It takes a lot of work to be productive with them. So
was originally built in the
Like,
early 2000s to be Microsoft's
C#
answer to
is
Java.
very general
And
purpose
honestly,
and does
it was
all
pretty
the
much a
things.
copy-paste job in the beginning.
Where is it? There's a thing out
Microsoft
here.
Nullable reference types, type
There you
inference,
go.
pattern matching, and a whole bunch of stuff.
Like, if these features are what you needed to be convinced to try C#, like, you're missing the boat. Like, the important, really cool things that C# does are not these. If this is what got you interested in, hey, I need to go check this out because it has pattern matching. Really? There's other much, much more impressive things than that. Project Loom with virtual threads. Yeah, and doesn't really happen. Yep. So, yeah. Oh, Smirking Squiggly landed on the video at the same time I did. Bograt comments, was C# ever not cool? I think in the late 20-teens, is that a thing? And early 2020s, C# wasn't cool because Google was pushing Go and Dart and Rust. And there's folks at Microsoft that really like Go, that really like it. Yeah. Where is it? There's a thing here. So, and he's not even picking up on some of these. He talks about how, there you go, you can build a microservice with 20 lines of code. Like, that's a thing now in .NET, and it's compiled, it's statically typed, and you're going to get the compiler benefiting you. Awesome stuff. So, folks were saying C# not cool because it only ran on Windows, because it only right, it only ran on Windows, it only ran in IIS. But now it has the flexibility to run everywhere and does all the things. Like, yeah, do it. First time ever, exactly. Like, come on now. C#'s always been cool. Totally agree. And as somebody who's spent my career in and with this, folks that have said it's not cool are interested in the new shiny other. What's the next programming language? What's the next framework that I use? And there's nothing wrong with that. Totally. Go check it out. See if it helps you. Is it better? Better is subjective. If you're building a low level code to manage a database, cool. Go build that. Go run that. .NET isn't the greatest tool set to build that. Neither is Java, right? The ahead of time compilation capabilities that are now part of .NET are going to get you closer to that, but you're not going to be able to build low level code that runs as fast as Go or Rust. You just aren't. That's the nature of having a having a just in time compiled tool and framework. But once it is running, yeah, it's going to be as fast, if not faster, in some cases. Link actually started life being promoted for data access. Yep. Using it as a gateway for bits of functional programming. Exactly. And now .NET Run with a single file is amazing. A lot of the fad programming languages, according to the Bog Rat, have hit end of life before a proper enterprise app could be developed and deployed. Yes. The .NET Run app CS is very cool. That's something you're going to see more and more we'll be talking about as we go into the .NET 10 release as part of .NET Conf in November. We're building a ton of content for events for you in October and November, all month long in both months. We've got Microsoft-sponsored events in North America, in Europe, that we're going to be bouncing back and forth between. There's Microsoft Ignite in there. There's GitHub Universe in there. There's .NET Conf. You're going to be able to see a ton of content online broadcast from those events, and of course .NET Conf. And you're going to be able to go in person and meet us at these various events and locations, whether it's Orlando or Lisbon or San Francisco. There is a ton going on that you're going to see around .NET 10 and the launch in the fall. You just started a migration project to Blazor? Nice. Try using Copilot to do a little bit of that and see where it gets you. So, Phil's hooked on Aspire currently. It's a game changer. Totally agree, and that's why I'm doing more work with the .NET Aspire team. We're working on plans for .NET Aspire 9.4 right now. I can't talk about it yet, but we're working on plans for it. If you needed to build an API, Greenish Pepper asks, what would I need to consider in order to decide if I should choose minimal API or MVC? This is a question we get a lot. Minimal API is going to run a little bit faster for you because it's not loading all of the controller goo. All of the stuff to parse and run a controller, all of that stuff isn't being loaded. So a minimal API is going to run a little bit faster. Additionally, you don't have all the ceremony of managing a class that is a controller with all these other things. If you're building an API that is going to have several other related APIs, and you want to do a little bit of dependency injection, and you want to be able to group them all in one place, building it with a controller with MVC is a natural way to do that. You can also do that with the map group capabilities with minimal APIs. You can do that. It uses some Fluent APIs to help you structure and build that out. It's not a technique that many folks are comfortable with yet. When I start building minimal APIs and I get beyond one or two inside of my program CS, I end up moving them out to an extension method that sits in another class file anyway. So then that separation is it a controller? Is it a minimal API? Well, it's code sitting in another file outside of program CS. It's going to run just a little bit faster because it's a minimal API. There should be some automated tool to convert ASP.NET web forms to Blazor. Really?
Steve_Elliott just resubscribed for 59 months.
Thank you so much. Much appreciate the subscription. Great to see you. Ice cream stick model. Tell me more. UNESCO only runs 2 containers on Aspire. One is a world deployer, and the other is a container with persistence. Okay. Choose what matters to you and your team. Yep. Yep. There you go. Space Shot with a great answer there as well. Thanks to some very annoying auditors, Jawn is janking out a thing from a monolith and taking more control over things. Shifting from a monolith to a distributed application architecture, in my experience, is only valuable when you need to scale one of those things that is a bottleneck. If your front end, your user interface runs very well, and you're not waiting on that, but you're on a bottleneck of some business logic that runs, and you want to be able to scale that up so that there can be more instances of that, yeah, let's pop that thing out into a minimal API, into a microservice, and move that somewhere else so we can scale and put 10 instances of that for the 2 instances of our front end so it can do more work. Breaking up that monolith so you can scale some of those things and build failover between them is a wonderful thing, but it introduces a lot of complexity. So, that's when I make those decisions to break them up. You heard the drop.net from the Aspire name, as can be used for non.net just as well to do the orchestration. Dr. Talk, we've also got Dr. Cox that hangs out here sometimes. You're right, that Aspire can be used, .NET Aspire can be used for many different frameworks and tools. You can use it with Python, you can use it with JavaScript, with TypeScript, you can use it with Java, you can use it with Rust, you can use it with Go, you can use it with anything you can put in a container. You can use it to orchestrate, build, and deploy. Absolutely. And we have teams at Microsoft that are doing that. So, thanks so much, Steve. Yeah, things are going well. You're welcome, Greenish Pepper. There's a lot of ASP.NET Web Forms-based systems, and porting it to another stack takes time. Totally agree. Totally agree. Monolith is dual operated by us and a third party. That is our bottleneck. Oh, yeah. So being able to break that up so that between the 2 organizations, you can manage it, that makes sense to me. It's a huge front end for a microservices backend. Yeah, I can feel that then. I agree. Some great web form-like components, open source project with agent transition. We were building those here on stream, and part of me wants to go back to our Blazor web forms components and throw Copilot at it and see what it can do. You know? Like, go resolve and do some of this. What do we got there from NDC? From NDC Melbourne, how to modernize.
All right, well.
Yep, and Jay Tower talks about, I think if I remember correctly, he talks about using YARP to help migrate there. Yeah. Yep. Copilot should be able to help with some of that migration, but I think there's more we can do to train a model and move that better. Someone from Microsoft wanted to use it to orchestrate a Minecraft private server deployment. That'll attract the young ones if they did Doom deployment. It's funny, Dr. Cock. Dr. Talk. Oh, man. I keep confusing Dr. Cox and Dr. Talk. It's funny. Funny you should say that. Some joker talking about using Aspire to run a Minecraft server. Who would do that? Who would do that?
Hey there, friends. Jeffrey.
I don't know who would do that. Who would do that? Some joker from Microsoft did this. I need a cup of tea like Kermit in the meme picture. Yep. There you go. Doom deployment. Yep. So, that video... So, there's a link to that video if you're interested in seeing that. Ads are on Twitch now for the next 2 minutes. So, yep, that's a thing. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. This is a big piece we're about to move in SharpSight. Let's pull that. Where did I put it? Here. Let's start here. And let's see if we can get. This is running Claude 3.5. Move over to the editor so we can see it over here a little bit easier. And yeah. Let Copilot take a swag at this, and then we'll tune it from there. I want to move the UI in this project to a standalone Razor class library that has the domain model implementations for the security objects referenced, and we can inject provider specific instances of things like user and role. Also move scoop. No, darn it. This one. Also move the security objects and database integration to the SharpSight. Is it plugins? What is it? Plugins data Postgres project. Let's see where it goes. So while that's going, that's in ask mode that it's going to figure this out. Create new Razor class library for the UI components, base security models in the abstractions project, Postgres security implementation, and so on and so forth. All right, you're moving in the right direction. Start applying these suggestions and let's see where we go. Let's call the Razor class library sharpsight.ui.security. I think that makes sense. And let's see what it comes up with. So, yeah, I want to get this initial, because this is a big piece, this refactoring. Let's get it. What? Let's get it building and deploying a little bit of this that would be a pain in the neck to solve. And let's move things over a little bit. And then start iterating on it. What? I switched to T-Mobile over the weekend. Developers. Yep. Sure, go ahead, do that. What's the benefits of this refactoring? So we're going to put all of let it figure that out. Let's see what it does. So we're going to put all of the security user interface into a package, right? Into a library, so that we can extend and version that separate from the rest of the application. By making it abstract in how it references the security objects, that's going to allow us the ability to swap in different implementations of user and role and how it stores passwords, so that those things can be running from a Postgres database, a MySQL database, a Microsoft SQL Server database, or whatever other location we decide to implement. So we're not tied down to a specific vendor's implementation. So, sure, go ahead, do that. Hey, Liliana Catriona, hello, good to see you, Lily. How's it going over there? We're generating a little bit of our security work here for the for SharpSight, our project we've been working on stream. There it goes. Generate a couple more folders, sure. That's fine. There they are. It's going to analyze the terminal and come back here. It's going to tell you what the hat is I'm wearing. We've got AI here, there, and everywhere helping out with things. Come on now. I know you know what this hat is. Get to it. Add it to the solution? Sure. Done. And moving on. Why isn't it telling you what the hat? There it is. My playoff bound hat. Yep. College football. Love it. So, all right. That's running. It's going to do a bit of it. Right. This toil of moving files around for us. You go figure that out. I'll come in and make decisions and write the code that does the interesting bits. Managing and pushing security code around, I don't like that. You go figure this out. So, I'm trying to read here. Yeah. Let me do this. Share that. So I switched mobile phone providers over the weekend. So now I have an iPhone 16 Pro. And I switched from Verizon Wireless to T-Mobile. Several reasons. I get free Wi-Fi when I fly now because I'm using T-Mobile. There's better signal from T-Mobile at Penn State, particularly for football weekends. So let me go and do that. So I'm quite happy with the service so far, and it's interesting to me that I've been with Verizon Wireless for 20 years, and they did nothing to try and keep me. Like, I don't know how that works. So, what do we got here? Continue to iterate? Yes. There's lots more to do here. Ionescu says, after the build conference, you've seen Fritz only use Copilot, then write code. The Copilot tools have been getting a lot better. A lot better. And the announcements, the release that happened at Build have gone a long way for my confidence in these tools. And quite frankly, stuff like this it's code that I don't want to write. And you've seen me with this toil writing some of this type of code on stream. When we were building ClipTalk and we migrated databases, it took a month to migrate databases. I'm going to do it in minutes here. Yes, please. Let me get back into writing the user interface stuff that I enjoy. Yeah, right, Warm Peas? Oh. And quite frankly, that migration back and forth between various database providers, it killed my opportunity to build other features with for the product, because I spent so much time, instead of building features, just moving junk around. Yeah. Like, if I could have done that in a day or less and gotten back into building features quickly, and yeah, let's do it. So, I'm gonna lean into being more productive with the Copilot tools. Absolutely. Napalm says Verizon, yeah, they kind of screwed you because you weren't on a family plan. If you have one line, they won't give you any deals, and I wanted unlimited data. Yeah. So, I was on an iPhone 14, and I went to 16. So, Johan asks, does Aspire support does Aspire support ES-Proj type projects, like CS-Proj but for JavaScript, TypeScript projects? It doesn't support the ES-Proj format directly, I don't think, but you can point it to your package JSON file, and it will start up and use npm to launch and run your scripts and things inside of Aspire. So, all AI streams are boring to watch. Okay. So we should move the rest of the account management pages. Yes. Continue doing that. Like, would you really want to watch me move these files around and make sure that they work and are referencing things properly? Let this do that initial sweep through these, and then I'll come through and investigate, and we'll write some code around that. Like, I don't want to be a complete vibe coder on these things, but I also don't want to waste my time. And I feel like watching me copy files between projects, tuning and tweaking it is boring, right? So it's going to remove the remaining account management pages. Good. When it gets over there, we're going to look at doing the refactoring and the abstraction of these things. Kiss My Pixels use Gemini to generate a bash script that rename files on a given path to lowercase and turn spaces to underscores. Cool, right? I needed that to upload these files to some Azure bucket that we use as a CDN. Took 15 minutes instead of an hour for the script, since I stink at bash. The time and then the time to actually upload. So that was fun. Cool. Yeah, right? Exactly, Bograt. I get to do Q&A now while this is doing the grunt work that you don't want to watch me do, moving these things back and forth. Found the remaining account management pages. You didn't really have to search. Like, it was in the folder there, dude. Here's what I'll do next. Create. Yeah, do that. Go ahead. Go. Do your thing. You've removed all the copilots from your machines for good? That's your choice. Okay. You like seeing how well or not well of a job AI does, and right, that's part of the demo that I'm doing here for you as well, right? Like, you've seen the code that's behind this. We've been working on it on stream, and that code is available. And being able to see how it moves this, phenomenal, right? Yeah, make that 2-factor. Move that over too. Right, the delete personal data page. There it is. Right now, what's interesting that I'm curious how this goes. These bits right here. They reference concrete implementations of a user. I'm going to turn over to ask mode and see what we're going to do to fix those so that they're not using a provider, not referring directly to a provider-specific implementation of a user, right? Inside my code that we had originally written that we're trying to correct, we developed this idea of a PG Sharp Site user, a Postgres implementation of a Sharp Site user that has the appropriate markup and the implementation of an identity user. So, and I also, right, I built these operators here so that I could convert it to the abstract SharpSite user object that is not coupled to a, right, to a specific database vendor, right? Because while I'm using Postgres here, like I mentioned, I want to be able to use MySQL, Microsoft SQL, MongoDB, what have you, and be able to work with those. Because here's the thing, right? Once this finishes doing the migration and we have a template for this is how the Postgres implementation works, then I'm really going to unleash the AI and say, go generate vendor-specific database plugins for MySQL, MongoDB, and Microsoft SQL. Let it generate those plugins because we've already done the work to decide what a plugin is. Do we really want to spend the time rebuilding that for each one of those vendor-specific databases? Nah, not really. Go generate that because I want to go and build more of... We have a plugin marketplace we want to build. We have security concerns around how a plugin gets downloaded and installed. We want to go figure that out. Let me go figure that out. You do this stupid back and forth left-right stuff, copying from here to there of these objects. You go do that. Dr. Talk is playing with iPad OS 26 beta at the moment. What do you think of the user interface language? The liquid glass, is that what they call it? What do you think of that? I've heard a lot of folks be very critical about Apple's new design language, I think. And right? Gosh, now the iPad has minimum, maximum buttons and menus. Like, yeah, Mac OS, iPad OS are getting much, much closer. So, I wouldn't be surprised you see VS Code become a lot better on the iPad. For that matter, just open a browser and just go to VS Code for GitHub. Open that up. The code looks bad as all-in-one file, no code behind file. I don't know. Create provider-specific implementations of the security interfaces. Yes. And test the moved components. Yes. Proceed with the next steps. Pause before you get to testing. There we go. Can you write unit tests for create user settings endpoint using nsubstitute? Sure. You're typing in chat instead of... I totally get it, smirking squiggly. Wrong, Jawn. That's right. It's entertaining to code all that code myself and then make it bloatware code by someone else that what can't be licensed. No. I've been seeing a million tweets comparing it to Arrow from Vista. PC nerd, yes. I've seen that as well, and how folks were so upset about Arrow, the Arrow design in Vista, and here we are 15, 18 years later, and Apple's implementing the exact same thing again, and they're implementing the Windows user interface on iPad, which was in Windows 8 on Surface tablets 15 years ago. Like, Apple's innovation was done by Microsoft 15 years ago. Get back to me on that. Yeah, an update on your Android device today, and it looks a little bit fresher. Oh, cool. All right, Marcus. Arrow was the right place, wrong time. I think we're seeing that now. Yes. I think we're also seeing a little bit of the effect of the cult of Mac, where whatever Apple, in a design and fashion way they create, they can do no wrong, right? This is This is what movies like The Devil Wears Prada lampoons. The fashion designers can do no wrong. What they tell you is going to be the design for the next pair of pants you buy, even though it includes a tail off of it, is the fashionable thing to do, even though it looks stupid and there's no way to practically use it. Like, that's the in fashion thing to do. And there are some folks that want to be fashionable that will spend $2,000 for a pair of jeans that has a tail. That's not real. I'm just making that up to emphasize how loony the fashion industry can be. But it's that cult-like following of design that some folks have with Apple, where they had the blinders to the Aero design in 2010, and now, oh, it's so cool. Quite frankly, with the interface that they've built it on top of, they're running into the same problem that Aero had, where it's not readable. You can't, because there's stuff that's bleeding through from behind it, you can't tell what's going on, and it's really hard to use. There we go. PG User Manager, PG Sign-In Manager, right? So I was talking about how I had, right, the PG User object. Well, now, right, it's going in and creating it. Register the new services in dependency injection. Nice. We're going to need to move this around a little bit, but we're getting there. You must be one of the few people who actually liked Aero. Aero did some things right, where when it was overlaying something and it was displaying text or an image that you needed to be able to see clearly, right, it tinted the glass behind it so that it stood out a little bit. Liquid glass doesn't do that because they don't want to interrupt the fidelity of your wallpapers and the images that you're opening it on top of. Whatever. You're making it hard to read and see what I'm doing here. Like, if I had my way, all the iOS stuff would go back to the old skeuomorphic themes. Skeuomorphic, I thought, was a magnificent design language that they had. So, there we go. They've even created some tests. Keep all those things. So you can tell I've got 37 files changed over here. So these objects they're still over here. But here's the UI security project. That's growing. There's some tests that are growing. Okay. But these things should be moving into the plugin. The implementations of the concrete security classes should be migrated to the Postgres plugin project. Let's see if it does better with that. Aero with the live tiles, the Metro UI was really, really good. VS Code dev issues when swapping between apps, as old iPad OS doesn't have persistence in the background. So, you're speaking towards some of the decisions that the Safari team has made on how they interact with more sophisticated web applications, and those are known problems with Safari. As an Apple fan, I don't agree with that. Apple does plenty wrong, so does Microsoft. Oh yeah, they both do things wrong. Oh, totally. But Apple is, with this latest design release, they're clearly throwing back. Hey, Eric, good to see you. Arrow is a chocolate bar. Apple doing Windows is very Windows-like. Yeah. Liquid glass is not as impressive as it looked in the keynote. Looks two glasses in the default setting. Yeah. Skeuomorphism made everything look like a toy. You didn't like it? With higher definition displays now, I bet you that it can look better. Creating a security folder in the plugins. Yes, go for it. Do that. There it goes. And it added the identity packages over there. There we go. All right. All right. Keep going. Now it's moving my implementations into that plugin. Good. Metro was a failure because it was ahead of its time. Yeah, Microsoft with the Metro modern user interface framework was trying to leapfrog where we were with phone and tablet user interfaces. It was trying to do that, and it did, and it was doing it too fast for where our society was comfortable using those tools. So, agree with you, and it's disappointing. It's interesting to see Ben. He's the one. He was the program manager who was in charge of outreach for mobile phone, for Windows Mobile. It's interesting to see him every time there's a new announcement of an Android or iOS feature. He looks at them and says, "Yep, we had that over here in Windows Phone 10, 15 years ago. We had that." Like, you're rehashing something that we had all that long ago, and now everybody loves it. Yep. You'd love Live Tiles. They basically had widgets before it was hip. Yep. Live Tiles were awesome. Loved being able to use Live Tiles. My gosh. I had Live Tiles set up for my family, right? Because you could create a Live Tile for a group of contacts, and the Live Tiles were stitched in, connected to all the ways that you communicated with those contacts. So if I got a text message or an email or a Facebook post was made by my wife or another family member, or they sent me an email or they sent me a text message, it all appeared in one tile on my phone. And I could click into that tile and see all of those updates in one place. It was phenomenal. Like, that centralization of the communication that we have with our contacts, that's something that so many of us want now, because we ask the question, well, was I talking to that person with a text message, with an email, with a Teams message, with a Slack message, with Signal, with Telegram, with WhatsApp? Was it a discussion in private messages on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on Facebook? Where was that discussion? There's a dozen different places that it could be, and now you got to go hunting through all of those apps to figure out where that was so you can continue the conversation. It's difficult. You see in my .github folder that it has MD instructions. How does that get wired up to your AI agent mode? Via the IDE, or does GitHub just automatically ingest that? Funny you should ask that, Eric. Let's go over here. You can co-pilot that, Jawn. Level it up with Copilot instructions. Copilot instructions MD is an effective way to customize Copilot's behavior for your project. By adding this file to your repository, you can guide Copilot to follow your project's coding standards. It just loads it, and GitHub Copilot knows how to use it. And I've got some instructions here about how to get more out of it. We should probably update this article so that it has links to the reference material about that. No, I was right there. Update the Copilot instructions tip to have links to the authoritative documents. I want to add links to the introduction section about the Copilot-instructions tip that references the authoritative reference material on Microsoft Learn about how to use this file to customize the GitHub Copilot experience. And let's just add a reference to that. Go ahead, create that issue. You loved Metro. Metro was a bevy of Windows you made a bevy of Windows mobile apps with it. Yes, totally agree. Right? Copilot, go find and update that. And while that's doing that, let's come back over here. Yep, go ahead, continue working and doing that thing. Have a good one, Dr. Talk. 1 a.m. in Australia. Oof. Oof. Thanks so much. Appreciate that. We need a contacts app to rule them all. Agreed, Marcus. Yes. MS took too long to roll out mobile OS and then missed out on the market. Yep. Yep. If he was using GitHub MCP, he would have asked Copilot to create this issue directly from the Visual Studio Code. I could, but I don't have that project open so that it would reference that. I'm in a different project. You're absolutely right. I could have. And I absolutely would have. There we go. Adding links. We can even view the session of it working on this. The historical documents. This isn't Galaxy Quest. Oh, this. So it's going to go and figure out how to work this there. It found the instructions MD, and it's going to go, no, you don't need to build and test the application, you dork. Adding missing using for this. Okay. Update register plugin attribute. There we go. Implement the missing interface methods. Fantastic. Windows Mobile wasn't feature rich and missed the key things when it got those Microsoft killed the Windows Phone. There were changes and pushback that happened from like the social media sites that they didn't want you using their API to get data out of the applications without the applications running, because they lost a lot of context of what you were doing with the application. So they started having a problem with how that contact app would work across the various providers. So, this is all right. Keep going. That's doing a thing, and I've got this over here writing some code also. Like, I could write some other code somewhere else while the AI is going and building all of this code. I want to add links to authoritative reference material. Yep. There you go. This is what it covers. Good. Why are you building? Yes, add some authoritative links. Learn more, and then there's... Cool. Update the last modified date. Yep. That sounds good. And it's going to go and commit all this. Fantastic. And we'll have the article ready to go, and I can merge that, and it'll update on the website in just a few minutes. So, yeah. Show me where you are with this one. Register plugin services. So this is inside of the plugin. Initialize user's activity source name. Yeah, and you bonked the formatting here. Dork. Yeah, you screwed up the formatting there. That code wasn't changed at all. That doesn't make me happy. Register service as iHost application builder, disabled retry, which that should go away soon. But yeah, this whole thing. Ugh. This whole thing's going to be a problem we're going to need to move around. Yeah. Setting up a Postgres email sender. Maybe we can do something about that. So it actually does the email sending, but we're testing with a local SMTP. It's not getting confused with the typo for the name. No. No. Changes look exactly as needed. Let me commit and report progress. Yep. View the final version. Learn more right up top here. Configure Copilot for your environment. Get up Copilot in Visual Studio. I think the learn more then should be at the bottom. Maybe? Now, why did it set the last modified date to January 2021? The last modified for this article is today. Let's give it some feedback. Right, let's give it some feedback. I'm gonna add my review. You just updated this file, comma. The last modified date should be set to today. Why didn't it save that? You just updated this file, comma. The last modified date should be set to today. And down here. Let's move the Learn More section to the end of this document. Do not roll back the version of .NET for this project. Okay. And Copilot's going to see the changes I've suggested. See the little eyeballs? And it's going to go make those changes. Like, I could push a change into that, but just talk to it. Tell it. Let it go figure it out. This is doing work. Now that we have the core files in place, we need to add migration for the identity schema. Yeah. Yes, move the migrations to the Postgres plugin project. Because we're going to get rid of the other way we were doing things. Hey, how you doing, Codebase Alpha? Hello. Did I publish that, Jawn? I did. It is available. Is 121 the AI's birthday? I think it may actually be the last modified date for the links that it was referencing. I think. That would be my guess. And it's strictly a guess. So, yeah. So here comes the next session where it's going to go through and work on these. Check if there are build processes that I should validate. Any tests related to content. The last modified, but I just updated. I need to update it to today's date. Let me check what today's date is, really. And it fixed the date. Like, that took 2 minutes to do, versus if I had gone in, I could have updated it directly. Sure. Have a good one, Napalm. Hello. Take care. So, that should be easy to do. And that should be easy to do. So, yeah. Sure. Build failed. Why did build fail? You're not going to tell me. Yes, build it to see if there are any errors, because you know there are some. One error. Projects that use central package management. Yes. Watch this. Is there any correlation with the old arcade versus AI tokens? No. 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 Tokens is a way for it to identify and describe chunks of text that it's working with. So these are a significant number of tokens that it's going through and showing. I don't have to pay per token on this because it's just I'm using my Copilot subscription. So now it's going to try and do the migration again. Down here, build started, build failed. It's going to revert and try and do. So this is actually a good step that it's going through because it's finding the build mistakes that it made. Yeah. Go through and address those and then rebuild. See? Look. Now it's actually building and it found 13 errors. And it will go through and address these. And I bet these are using statements it's missing. No, I want the identity references not in the abstractions project. Oh, I thought I had an abstraction security project. So what did it update in there? I'm not a fan of that. Let's see if that works, and then maybe we can get it to simplify some of those references. Another build failed. What is that? That's not right. That's definitely not right. We're going to need to figure that one out. Yeah, I know you've been working. Keep going. So. Yep, build it with diagnostics. There you go. And it's that central package management again. So. Hey, bald-bearded builder. Hello. Good to see you. How are things on the ranch? We are trying to get some of the security migration work done quickly here by letting Copilot work on this. Wet and hot. Welcome to Alabama. So, worth adding the use CPM to the Copilot? Probably. SharpSite uses central package management for its projects. When adding references, obey the rules for central package management. Try it again. Start over. Oh, okay, yeah, I'll start over right away. Nothing like vibe coding security work. So this is code that we had working, and what I'm trying to get it to do is move it from here, from one project to the other, and then help me with the abstraction of the database vendor specific, database specific implementations of those objects.
And then?
No and then. No. Build failed again. This is funny to watch. Let me tell you. Custom instructions are a living document. That's a great way to describe it. 2 build failures. We're missing some references here. Let that ride. I'm going to go back over here and let's see what the other Copilot was doing. Move the Learn More section and restore the .NET 9. So, took it out of there and put it down at the bottom. And reset that. Good. I think that's a good update for this document. Yep. Delete the branch. And the issue's closed. Take a look at the actions. And it's syncing. It's going to push that content up to the live website right now. Right? I'm doing more work with less effort here. So, and I wrote this automation step so that it'll go through, and there you go. It updated one article. It's refreshing the web cache. Cache refreshed successfully. And it updated the README badges here locally in the project. So, refresh this article. Oh no. There's a certain amount of yeah, the update didn't hit there yet. Even though I told it to refresh the output cache, I think I'm still hitting the browser cache. No. I'm not sure why I'm still getting the old version. It'll update, but it's a question of when that cache flushes and new content loads in. Alright, go ahead, try and run the migration again now that you've applied another fix. We got past the... Nope, build failed. Build failed again. Yeah. Copilot should come with this sound effect. You complained I felt like I was waiting for agents to write code. The feedback was that I needed more agents running concurrently on different tasks. Now I feel like a middle manager. Yes. Yep. I totally agree. it's curious to me that it's not pushing that. Yeah. If I try and... No. I'm hitting an output cache here that updates like once an hour, I want to say. I don't want to reset. I could. I don't want to, but I'm going to. And I'll go back and figure out the refresh cache issue. Containers. Revisions and replicas, yes. Yeah, it's a container out there. I can't just... Oh. And it's a container out there. How many instances of containers do I have running? It might have updated on one container. Yeah, there's 2 replicas out there. It could have updated on one and not the other. Which means I'm going to need to get to a distributed caching solution like Redis sooner than later. F# Aspire Hosting. A package to create Aspire app hosts in F#. Interesting. Architectural Manager? No. But introducing a distributed caching solution like Redis will help with that output caching. At least I don't need to write annual performance reviews for the agents. Oh, yeah. Have a good one, Smirking Squiggly. Enjoy your dinner. How we doing over here? It's looping on itself. See, when it says summarized conversation history, it's restarting when you see that. Yeah. We're about to hit a wall where we've asked it to do too much. So, yep, it's going to look at implementations. Blah, blah, blah. Emphasis on the blah blahs. Right, it's going to look at these things and say, oh, wow, it looks like I already did that. So, be nice to the AI then. So, there was... I can show this, I think. There was a suggestion to write a prompt. No, don't do that one. There we go. Copilot, Microsoft, com. Yeah, look at that. Hey, Copilot, I would like your help to figure out where I can best leverage AI in my work, period. As an AI expert, would you ask me questions one question at a time until you have enough context about my work that would help you make 2 obvious recommendations and 2 non-obvious recommendations for how I could leverage AI in my work. That's an interesting idea. Now, look at this. It's going to interview me. What do you do for work? I write code. I write code live on Twitch streams and share that those apps with my community on GitHub and Discord. Let's see what it suggests. What kinds of projects or apps do I typically work on during my streams? I build web applications, and right now I'm working on SharpSite. I think my viewers enjoy seeing me solve problems and be entertaining. No, and being able to interact with me while I'm writing that code. Now let's see what it says. I'm in the private browsing window, and it found me. Probably found it because it knows where those things are, I guess. What parts of my workflow feel repetitive, time-consuming, or mentally draining? Prep, debugging, documentation. I really don't enjoy writing documentation or tests. What's my personal goal with the stream and my projects? I'd like people to learn more about software development, and I'd like to be perceived as a teacher, as a respected technology teacher. How's that? Auto-generate docs and tests from the code base. Real-time code explanation during streams. Integrate an AI bot, even a lightweight one, in Twitch or Discord that explains what you're doing in real time or answers audience questions about that code. Reinforces my teacher persona while letting me focus on coding and engaging. Non-obvious. Post-stream AI highlights and snippets for learning. Use the AI to analyze the Twitch VODs, find moments where I solve tricky problems, and generate social media snippets. Tools like Opus Clip or Whisper and GPT can be chained to help automate this. That's interesting. AI-powered student mode. Clone of me. Imagine a fine-tuned AI persona trained on my code style, past projects, and FAQs, offering beginner-friendly answers or helping my Discord community even when I'm not around, kind of like a virtual TA. Unexpected, memorable, and very me. Interesting. So, kind of cool to get a couple recommendations of what these things are. So, and I don't want to be all Copilot all the time here. Take care, Eric. Where did this get to? Run this command in terminal. Run the migrations. Yeah, go ahead. Do the migrations. Nope, build failed. I think we're coming to a point where I'm going to need to stop, step in, and work through this. You want to make sure I have global we do. Okay, it upgraded. Fine. I get it. That's fine. Do some more there. Build a solution. Yeah, do that. Sure. Let's see where it stops. There we go. iUser login info could not be found in sharp sight abstractions. So here it generated this file, iUser manager. Okay. I sign in manager, and it references iUser info. So what it's doing is it's wrapping those implementations. Okay. I'm good with that. Go back over here. Dear Lord, it's opened and it's working with so much junk. Just grab that. Build a solution again, sure. Still failed. iUser login info. You need to build this thing, dude. iLogin info? I don't know what iLogin info is. Go ahead, build it again. That built. Look at that go. Those are further down. Oh, yeah. This is where I was going to run into painful, annoying problems. Getting these pieces to work with. Yeah. Go figure that out. I don't want to do this. And then I'm going to turn off Copilot and go through some of these things. Yeah. Okay, you want to see the contract you want to implement? Like, this is even becoming painful to watch. You know? Like, watching and seeing all this stuff go by isn't interesting me. It's annoying, to be frank. We can do more with this. More better, more gooder. So, taking a quick peek over here. Yeah, I see a couple people on Copilot that, Jawn. Cool. Come on. Go, go, go. Build my stuff. I mean, heck, I could be playing Overwatch while this thing's going. And then just peek over and click continue. Or, yeah, sure, go ahead and build that thing. Right? I've been playing more as Zarya in Overwatch recently. That's been that's been fun because I do enjoy the different playstyle where we're playing as D.Va as a tank. You can either sit back and try and defend the folks as they're behind you attacking the other team, or you can dive in on the back line and try and wipe them out. And that's fun as Diva, but as Zarya, you kind of sit back a little bit as the battlefield general and set up shields for folks that are hopefully flanking and coming in, and then dive in after they've done a little bit of damage. So definitely a different way to play. All the essential types moved over. See, look at this. Now it's getting into something that I don't want it to do. No. You already moved the UI components to the SharpSite UI security project. Right? Cut it off before it starts doing something stupid. Yep, there's your analysis. Generate the database migrations for the security objects in the Postgres plugin. See what it gets. How's things, Joe? Good to see you. This might be a little dicey to do. It did this just a little bit ago. $92 errors. Right, but a lot of this is in... Oh no, SharpSite Security Postgres. Oh yeah. We're gonna have some challenges here. And I feel like it may have gone down a direction I don't want. Check out the song you wrote about Blaza. You had AI generate the audio for it. Oh, that's fun. Yeah. And now we're hitting a... All right. That's fine. Because I've got a commit saved at this point. Right, it... These things need to move somewhere also. Yeah. SharpSite, security, Postgres. Migrate the identity star CS classes in this project to the web project. And ensure they're using... what should we do with the identity star CS classes in this project? I'm not sure if they should go into the web project or they should go somewhere else. What do you think? Yes, we need to keep and maintain them. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. I didn't have enough coffee this morning. At some point we want to do that. These classes are used by that to set up identity services. I want to use the abstract SharpSite user class instead of the custom PG SharpSite user class. This way I can deliver various implementations of a user with different database providers. Let's see what it suggests. And having this discussion is valuable, right? To get that insight for things that just get difficult to figure out. Modify the identity services registration. See, it's that bit right there. I'm concerned about the concrete reference to PG. Was it PG security context? Yeah. Can that still work if we move this inside the Postgres plugin project? Right? I feel like that's where we want this to land. Other necessary database. Okay. Really? I don't think this is going to work the way that I think it needs to. And I'm nearing a point where I think I need to step away for a little bit. Like, the stuff that it's built here, I think it got lost in the sauce a little bit. You know? I feel like I should build some of this, get it tightened down, and then have it generate some more of this based on some of the structure that's locked down at that point. You know? I think it properly moved into here. I think it properly moved. Still has the example pages. Yeah, the example content of the class library. But it doesn't have the components in there. So that work that we told it to do over there, it didn't do. Okay. I'm gonna take a step back. I have some other work that I need to get to today, but I think I'm gonna wrap up stream here and chalk this up to we've started down the right path. I don't think it's great. But it definitely needs us to step in and help with. And yeah, look at this. Ugh. No. Where'd it go? Started migrating security features into the database plugin. Push that out so you can take a look at it, and we're not quite there yet with this. It's going to need some work, but I need to take a step away. So I'm going to end stream here and get you set up with some more content on Twitch. Yeah, I've got a couple other things that I need to work on today that this isn't working as easily and as well as I wanted it to. So I'm gonna step in and do some of this grunt work a little bit here, and then we'll get back to doing more with this. Yeah, I've got tomorrow open. Let's get back to doing more of this tomorrow. All right. I'm going to take a look at who's streaming on the big Twitch TV network that I can get you connected to. Let me have you join. Let's go join Adam Learns Live, who's who's working on building some games here and content over there. So let's go raid Adam Learns Live. Thank you so much for tuning in. That's not the command. Yeah, there we go. Adam Learns Live. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll have a little bit more of this done. We can go through and talk about it. And hopefully we can move on and get into some more of the interesting bits of SharpSight instead of doing this refactoring and moving things around, which is not very fun, and trying to get Copilot to do it, it didn't quite land as quickly where I wanted it to. So if you're watching on YouTube, there's lots of great videos over here, down here, depending on which YouTube app or website you're using to watch this. All right? Have a fantastic rest of your day wherever you might be. I wish you good health and good coding. Take care.